heroes first off, such as Lance and even Grace we saw a lot of? Or are they going to go for the more carry kind of role with the Idris pickup we saw quite a bit of yesterday? And it will be that Lance lock-in for the blue side.
Well, I mean, Lance at this point in time in the current meta, very, very strong, provides a lot of utility and very good wall as well, just to soak up damage because of the passive of Githyan Wall. 40% damage reduction, if I remember correctly, is quite immense in team fights, even if you're up against heavy hitters like that of Idris and even, mages of sorts. And we will be seeing an Idris coming up for the side of J3X Inferno.
Yep, so there is that Idris pickup once again, so these both being very expected, and then it just leaves them with what are they going to go for the bans. We're going to see the second bans with Black Feather being the first one, and are they going to follow through with, I would say, either a ban onto a Roma, a captain. I mean, they've already got their own captain in their hands, so they don't need to worry about that now. Or we could see maybe even, I'm not sure, maybe a Taka or a Celeste ban could come through.
Yeah, but we saw a lot as well that not Vainglory, but that Black Feather being banned out across the board of the entirety of yesterday. So I'm not quite surprised of that ban. But with the Black Feather ban, maybe they want to pick up a Celeste for themselves. But enough of them. But we do see a Catherine being banned out by the side of Nebulae. Catherine, not a lot of emphasis we saw from yesterday whatsoever. Granted, she has got a lot of utility in her kit in terms of the Merciless Pursuit and the 3-man silence that can happen once Catherine gets a level 6 and gets a Blast Tremor. However, from the side of J3X Inferno, we will be seeing that Lyra being taken away for the side of Nebulae. Lyra very, very strong with the early game sustain, and the poke that she provides in the early game is decent as well. But a rather interesting pickup coming up from the side of Nebulae, and that would be the Vox being secured in for themselves.
So that Vox pickup there goes very well into having a balanced team overall, and I think that it's now up to what the side of, I believe it's, we've got Inferno on the red team and Nebulae on the blue.
Yep, we do have Inferno on that red side and Nebulae on the blue side, and we will be seeing a Celeste, probably a jungle Celeste coming up from the side of Nebulae. And in return, because of the Black Feather being banned out, they are quite restricted in terms of how to counter that of Celeste. They can go for the Taka, try to burst that Celeste down, or, honestly, in the early game, before Celeste gets her items, gets her level 8, she is quite vulnerable, and Celeste worked very, very well. But of course, they themselves, they can pick up a Scarf, in which they have already banned out. So Batiste might work fine here. If not, then even a Koshka, just for the early game pressure that he can put down in that early game. However, we will be seeing not an Assassin, but a Bruiser coming out for the side of J3X Inferno, and they will lock in the Rona for themselves.
Now, that is something exciting to see. The Rona pickup, but how will it go up against the enemy team? I mean, Rona has to really try their best to get past Lance, who's going to be more than likely peeling for Celeste on that backline. And for Rona to catch out of Vox is also quite difficult to do. So I'm not too sure about this Rona pickup, but how are you feeling about it?
Honestly, if you don't ask me, I mean, Rona has got into the fray, can stay in the midst of all 3 members to fight it out. But the issue with picking a Rona into a team comp like that, which has double range, would mean that, like you say, have to get through and get past that Lance. She can use into the fray, but will she be able to just catch up Vox and Celeste is another issue altogether. Because Rona needs to hit into the fray into all 3 members of the team before she gets that fortified health or extra fortified health gain, and that will allow her to just sustain in the fights for a longer period of time. But with Rona getting on top of 2 range heroes, he must be a really good Rona. If not, then I don't quite seeing it happening altogether. But however, we will not just discount J3X Inferno on their skill play and abilities to just execute the team comp. But all in all, maybe the side of J3X Inferno wants to force a fight onto themselves, and with Into the Fray, just dive onto Saiyajin, remove Saiyajin immediately, and of course then go on to trophies on that of Fox.
Yeah, and we'll have to see as the team do load on Fold now, and let us know in the chat, as always, which team you are hyped for, which team you're cheering for, and all that good stuff, because we are in the semifinals of Week 3, our first match of the day, kicking it off with the Nebulae going up against J3X Inferno. So it should be a good match to watch. And just continuing off your point there, I personally think I can see how Nebulae's team, and I mentioned it as soon as they had picked it up, that is just really balanced, and that it's a good late game team comp if they can get there.
Yeah, but it'll be... I think they kind of pretty much break the chain there. Had they actually just picked up the Arden, then it'll be a family comp. It'll be way easier for the caster. But now all 2 members of J3X Inferno will be trying to vie for this Elder Tree, and Saiyajin will be thinking twice and will just back off.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to back away from that mid-triam, but still hasn't been taken by either team, funnily enough, and it looks like that Inferno just going to make their way up to the lane as Truffy's was already there from the start. Ooh, great use of the minion candy, able to get all of the minions up in lane on the side of Nebulae. And hopefully they can use this to add some extra aggression as they push in. And this is really good use of that minion candy, as we see Amok's Blaze going very low to Truffy's and Doubtfire up in this lane. And this is how you want to be using minion candy. You don't just want to be popping in, leaving lane. You want to continue to try and put pressure down up in lane and really get the most out of it in the early game. The only problem here is that we do see Amok's Blaze up in the lane on that Lyra. We'll have the Imperial Sigil up in to heal up Nibimbim, but it's not available right now as they almost got caught out with that Impale. Good to see Doubtfire landing those Impales as well. And meanwhile, Saiyajin did get caught out by Kahlua in the jungle for a bit, but it doesn't look like either of them really looking for a fight here. Maybe Kahlua on this Rona wants to play a bit more aggressive though.
Yep, but 2 minutes in, just 17 CS across, Nibibim as well, sitting very similar to that CS count. And you would think that with that minion candy, granted, you can put a lot of aggression into that of lane, and if the Roma tries their bestest to just hold lane for their laners, and it will hurt them a lot. But Trophies, we have to understand one thing, is that with that minion candy, it will be very difficult for Fox to farm up, because the minions do extra out into the lane.
Oh, Kahlua looking to jump onto the backline, trying to... But the Giphy going to stun them up, and they're going to have to back off from this fight. Trophies will have that potion up in another 3 seconds, so they should be fine, and it looks like J3X Inferno just going to back away from this fight. And now, I wouldn't be surprised if after clearing this next wave, Trophies does the same, but they're actually holding on to that potion there. They haven't used it, they're waiting in case they get jumped on again. A very smart move. And we see Doubtfire not actually with a Protector's contract, so he's just got the normal, I believe it's the Iron Guard contract?
Yeah, it is the Iron Guard contract that Doubtfire has on hand, but Kahlua now on to Doubtfire.
Yes, and we'll see it's just a bit of chip damage. They're not afraid to continue. There's the... standing in it, they're going to use it way with the attack speed. It would be a lot more useful if that was right on top of Kahlua as they were fighting, but you can see how Rona, when jumping into this team of Nebulae, actually has quite a lot of problems to deal with the CC coming out from the side of Nebulae, having the Impale as well as the Giphian Wall to just push Rona away, and then there's obviously the more, I guess, important one of the core collapse that comes out from that Celeste, really trapping Rona down, because Rona isn't very fast moving, especially when you're using that red mist to actually slow down a lot more. So Rona has to rely on using that into the fray to be a part of the mobility of that kit, and then as well as having be there to really just be able to jump onto target. So this is why I thought it is going to be quite tough for Verona pickup, and I'm not too sure how they're going to make it work. But you could see in situations like earlier when Kahlua had actually ran up to lane and used into the fray to get behind Truffy's, it almost worked out for them. But right now you can see just the CC and the peel coming out from the side of Nebulae, especially that of Doubtfire, landing those impales is very crucial, and it's helping them win out more or less from these team fights.
Yep, but honestly, Nebulae really wants to just poke down that, Rona before actually want to go in for the team fight. Only reason is because Rona has got Immortal Wound, and if Rona gets enough tank items, can just go into the backline, try the best to just burst Sergeant down, and even if Doubtfire and that Lance do pop that fountain, just try to keep that of Celeste alive, it will be largely quite a difficult job all in all, only because of the mortal wound that Rona can inflict. And that is something maybe Nebulae has to think about, but in this early game, definitely the poke or the damage wise will definitely go in favor of Nebulae with Celeste and the Supernovas and Heliogenesis that she can put out. And the amount of CCs, I agree with you. The set of Nebulae definitely have got a surmountable amount of CCs with the core collapse and the impales and Ethan Wall as well when Doubtfire do actually land them.
Oh, and look at this decent sized minion wave being. They're not able to find the damage onto the turret that they will. So good job from Inferno to keep them at bay, and you saw Sajin actually taking a fair bit of damage from the CP charge.
On the engage long enough, then you allow Sajin to just put out so much damage with those Heliogenesis and the stars that's just dropping down from the skies, and that is just not good at all for the side of J3X Inferno. So they may have to rethink their, fight strategies coming to this. Maybe have Rona just sneaky behind in the back lines, and from there maybe just try their best to put out as much damage as possible. But now Kahlua maybe finding
going to jump over the wall onto Truffy again, but Night Bim Bim, however, throwing out that CP Chakram, doing a fair bit of damage, and there's a storm coming, goes right through the middle of them. However, Armlock's plays probably would have been taken down by that one. Luckily for them, it missed, and there's an Imperial Sigil to keep Night Bim Bim alive, but Kahlua going to jump into the back line. He uses the reflex block to block out that core collapse and manages to get out of there alive. But right now, Nebulae putting down the pressure and doing a fair good job at keeping themselves alive, and surprisingly doing well at sustaining their own health when the enemy team should be the one doing that with the Lyra effect and the Serpent's Mask over on Rona, but they're just able to put out so much damage at this point, and it's just working out really well for the side of Nebulae. But they need to be careful as Kahlua jumps onto Truffy's. Great peel coming out from Doubtfire as he Giphian walls Truffy's into that Giphian walls Kahlua into that turret, and Doubtfire trying to impale over that wall, but it's not going to happen. Truffy's now needs to be careful. He's very low on energy as well, and he's playing a risky game. He might be going for it, although he's able to get Kahlua. He's going to be able to get Armox if he has one more dash, but looks like it wasn't up in time, and he's going to continue to stay around here pushing this turret as Doubtfire has used the fountain. There's the Solar Storm, but it misses, and yeah, they're going to have to back out. They got quite a lot out of that for being in a 2v3 situation, and it just shows you that Sajin, meanwhile, could be in the jungle farming and still have the presence there of that Solar Storm. However, in this case, it did miss, but we saw before just the damage that it can do in that previous ace.
Yep, and Kahlua on this Rona, generally Rona is a very late game hero, and you want to get the Serpent's Mask into that breaking point before you do respectable damage, and then you can stay in the team fight for a very long time. But like I said earlier on, in order for you to actually stay in team fight for a very long time, you really need to land those into the fray onto all three members before you can put out respectable damage and tank up as well.
Kahlua getting Giphy into the wall there, and then Sajin get caught on, but there's a wait for it. It's going to silence out Armox and Kahlua for just a second as they chase down Night Bim Bim from Nebulae, and they're going to catch out Kahlua here, but it looks like Kahlua will be safe, just barely, though. Kahlua really needs to back out of the fight here. I don't think sticking around for the Imperial Sigil will be quite enough at this point. You could see it really didn't heal much, and that damage that his heal just got hooked right back on top of Kahlua, and they're going to try and make it out there, but Solar Storm going to land them on them. Meanwhile, 9BimBim actually picking up the kill on Truffles, who is left alone, and now 9BimBim looking for something more, but he's going to get taken out by Saiyajin on this Celeste, and you can just see that even if Truffles isn't alive, Saiyajin still has massive amount of damage to put out at 11 minutes 30, and just doing great work with that Frostbone and Broken Myth. It's already so much, and it looks like they're building towards the Clockwork next.
Yep, and the Clockwork will be the next most logical choice, just to put out so much more heliogenesis, and on top of that as well, the amount of damage that Clockwork provides, the crystal amplification at least, is just immense for a Celeste or any mage that can just lay down a lot of skills in a very, very short amount of time. Kahlua now not looking very, very good on that Rona. I think a crew would have made so much more sense as compared to a Rona, because Rona really you work in very sustained DOT like damage, but now they are preparing for a siege.
Yeah, we do see Kahlua just focusing down on fight. They can take an objective with them right now. Ooh, it looks like a 9BimBim just going to be able to get out of there by using the Shimmer Strike, and but now has to be careful. They are going to get caught up between Doubtfire and Saiyajin if they're not careful. The CP Chakram going out doing massive damage, but here comes the Crystal Sentry, and it's going to be able to get the kill, saving Saiyajin and Doubtfire's life. Meanwhile, Truffles, I believe, chasing Amok's Blaze into their own jungle, and right now, I guess, if a side of Nebulae do have the option of going for that gold mine, it is already full, but they might be looking to just take some more farm and possibly win out another team fight. And this is the thing, you see Truffles and Doubtfire, just the two of them in the jungle for now, and I think they have the confidence there, and you could just see how well Doubtfire has been playing on this lance so far, landing the Impales, landing the Giphian walls, and just doing a great job to help out his carries and really let his carries be as, I guess, aggressive as they are at this point in the game.
Yeah, but even with that, very good vision control coming out from that of J3X Inferno, but all in all, it's just not utilized well whatsoever. We see scout traps across the map, or rather in the shop brushes, the item shop brushes, but the son of J3X Inferno just finding it so difficult to capitalize on the vision they are getting. Oh, Kahlua and a Moose Blaze getting caught up by those heliogenesis.
Oh, Doubtfire gonna go in with the Impale and the Giphian wall. Out the collapse, however, into the fray to actually get out of the fray. But right now, Nebulae going to be able to pick up that Crystal Sentry for themselves. They could even start to put down a bit more focus onto that, a bit more aggression, just so they have that much more roaming potential for their whole team, as it looks like right now they're really able to just go into the enemy jungle and take what they want for the most part. So I won't be surprised, but we will see Kraken on the board in another 30 seconds. And if Nebulae are looking for a team fight, they could do it now and then possibly turn their attention to the Kraken. And it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're at least pushing this wave up, and they want to get something out of it. I'm sure Doubtfire is not going to go back to base at this point. And great Giphian wall into the core collapse, and they're going to be able to take down Kahlua instantly. Now Truffy's focusing onto Amok's Blaze, just using it for those stacks. Now seeing it 12 breaking point stacks coming around the back to find 9BimBim all alone in the jungle, but he's not alone because Nebulae, Doubtfire and Saiyajin are there on the side of Nebulae to crush him. And yeah, it's just right now 10-1 for Nebulae is looking just great.
Yep, very easy anchor turret for Nebulae as well. Just leaving a Moose Blaze on that Lyra to just protect and hold that turret, but not for long now, as Nebulae will turn their attention onto this Kraken and possibly just end out this game and this onslaught onto that of J3X Inferno.
Yep, and it looks like they should be, they are accurate without test. Inferno a bit late to the party in this situation, but feeling that it's better to stick together as a team. They might even be able to do something if they catch out. Truffy's here, who's on the backline. Fountain is used, and Solar Storm comes in to push away the rest of Inferno, but Bim not going to give up, trying to look for something. Goes in with the Shimmer Strike onto Dalpa, now having to run back to the Imperial Sigil to heal up. I don't think they have what it takes to take down Truffy's. He has 16 stacks on that breaking point. Meanwhile, Saiyajin going onto the backline, able to finish out the ace. They're going to push onto these 2 turrets remaining with the Kraken, taking them out within seconds. They don't even need the Kraken here at this point. It's just for show as they take down the Vein Crystal of the first match. GG, well played to Nebulae, 13-1 and 39.6k over to the 30k, almost taking that 10k gold lead just at 16 minutes 40 in.
Yep, almost 10k gold lead. All in all, looks like the debut of Amoon's Blaze did not pay off well whatsoever for J3X Inferno. But then again, they are not on their roles. All in all, Kahlua is the roamer of the team, and then usually